Very.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. And then we also have our brand new assistant principal, Mr. Michael Velez, who is joining us with many years experience. Michael, where are you?
Hi, everybody.
Awesome. So we want to thank all of the parents for taking time out of your schedule today to join us in our first virtual back to school kind of welcome meeting. And really what we want to have an opportunity to do was just to kind of ease your nerves and some of the worries that you may have about your child's educational experience at Pioneer Middle School. And as your principal, this is my 11th year. I've been so fortunate to be able to serve this community for the past 11 years, and I'm very honored to be your principal. And if you've worked with me before, you know that, as always, students always come first. And in everything that we do at Pioneer Middle School, it focuses around our mission of maximizing every student's academic potential and personal responsibility. And even within this virtual world that we are today, our goal is always to reach that mission and make sure that your students have the best education and learning possible. With all of that said, I just want to preface with a little saying or a little encouragement about our mindsets, because we all have certain expectations about the way that our children's education should look. And all of us have experienced a traditional educational experience. However, with the situation that we're in and the pandemic, none of us can control what's happening as far as coming to school or staying home online. So I need us to shift that mindset that the learning that we've traditionally had in the past is not going to be the same. It just can't. There's no way that we can provide the same type of instruction that we have in the past when your children have come to our school and we've been able to interact with them physically. There's just no way that we could ever replace that. So with that, we just want to make sure that you as parents are as well informed and educated about what virtual learning looks like in Tustin Unified School District and how we are going to make sure that your students' learning still continues at a very high level. We've learned a lot from the crisis that we experienced last year. And with all of the feedback that we've received from you as parents in your surveys and attending board meetings and giving us feedback individually at our school sites, we know that you as parents want your child's day to seem as normal as possible and as traditional as possible. So with what we're going to be saying or sharing with you tonight, we hope that you feel relieved, and we hope that you feel proud of what the teachers and administration and staff have done in order to set the tone for virtual learning for the 2021 school year. One of the things I do want to ask is that I know that we're going to have an opportunity for questions. I would like, if you have any questions, I would really appreciate if you posted them in the chat room. And then Mr. Velez is here, your assistant principal, and he is going to interject when appropriate and have me answer certain questions, or even our PTO president, Mrs. Johnston. So we're all three here to help transition from that traditional school year that we left in March to a virtual world that we have today. And I'm very excited about what the teachers have been working on, and I'm very proud of the work that they have done. One of the things that we can't control is whether or not we're coming back to school or whether or not we're staying virtual. As your principal we are directed by your Board of Education and obviously the Governor of California. So I don't want us to stray this evening and focus on, well, what if our kids come back to school? What is it going to look like? How is the virtual schedule going to play out? How are you going to make my child safe? I know there's a lot of questions about what's going to happen when we return to school. We're planning for that. Today and starting on Thursday, we're not coming back to school. Everything is going to be virtual. So what we're going to prepare you tonight, and then also Wednesday night, I'll be sharing some more information with you about what's going to happen on Wednesday. We're going to provide you as much information and tools so that you also can support your child at home and then also be engaged with your child's teachers. Okay? So if you do have burning questions as we go through our presentation, please put it in the chat room, chat box, or whatever you want to call it. I have to make sure I get the language right. And then Mr. Velez will interject at an appropriate time, and then we can definitely answer some questions. But again,
And Tracy,
yes.
we are recording right now, correct?
Oh yes, we are recording. So anyone who cannot stay for the entire meeting or has a friend that can't make it, it is recorded, and we are going to be putting the link to the recording on both our website and our online website, Google site. So they'll be in 2 places. And then we'll send it out this Friday in the Weekly Wildcat. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you, and we're going to go through a slideshow. Okay. All right. I can't see everybody, but Mike and Amy, are you able to see the slide?
Yes.
Yes, I can see it.
Awesome. Very good. And parents, please, if you have questions or you would like to get clarification on anything, please don't hesitate in reaching out. And then at the end of the slideshow, when we answer any questions or clarify, I also would like the PTO to introduce themselves if they're here, our amazing board. Yes, they're all working behind the scenes, and hopefully you'll be able to see them on this particular screen tonight. Again, just to ensure and reassure you that we're here for you. Okay, someone's already drawing on the presentation. Have to love that. It's amazing what our teachers are going to be experiencing with your students doing these kinds of things too. So on behalf of Tustin Unified School District and Pioneer Middle School, I want to welcome you to the 2021 school year. This year's theme is Top School. And as with everything else, the remake and the reproduction of Top Gun, which we are basing our school theme on this particular school year, obviously didn't get shown over the summer. So some of the kids may not know what all of this is about. But we were going to be doing our best to incorporate a lot of the different sayings and a lot of the different activities with the Top School theme. And then I feel the need for knowledge is something that hopefully your student is going to be talking about over the course of this school year and how we can do that. And as you can see below is our mission statement, which everything that we do focuses around that. And I'd also want to have you focus at the bottom of all of the distinguished awards that Pioneer Middle School has received over the course of the last 10 years. And it's all attributed to you as parents, the achievements of our students, and then also the hard work of our teachers. We are a national model professional learning school. We are a national schools to watch taking center stage school. And what that means is that we have visitors, typically, if we were open, from all over actually the world. We had visitors once from Vietnam, and then we also had visitors from Australia to come look at the amazing educational practices that we have here in place that support student learning and teacher collaboration. And of course, we've been a California Gold Ribbon School, an Apple Distinguished School, And then each and every year we are an avid school also that really focuses around the college theme and making sure that everyone has access as they enter into high school, the A through G requirements to graduate and go on to a 4-year college if they choose, or we have our career technical education pathways in which Pioneer is very proud of, and those will also lead to special certifications at the high school if they continue with those passions. So if you haven't had an opportunity to go to our online site or our distance learning site or our website, we kind of have 3 going on right now. There is a wonderful Prezi. It's a different form of a Google slideshow or also a PowerPoint. And it basically takes your child and you through a variety of different, I guess you could say, different topics regarding Pioneer Middle School and what our theme is all about. So we asked the students to have their passports. They're now boarding the school year, some flight challenges, and then obviously a clear to land on the runway for 2021. So if you haven't had a chance to go through this particular presentation, we encourage you to do that with your child and get them excited about coming back to school on Thursday. We need all those little happy faces. So I've already talked about that. We have a nice picture of the campus. We're going to be including in our student videos. I think it's very important that during this virtual learning that they still have opportunities to see our campus. And again, Pioneer is so fortunate to have a video production team of students, and they also have a drone. So there's some cool activities that our counselors are going to be working with our ASB and PAL students. So they will be taking students on virtual flights through the campus. So we're going to try to highlight an area of our campus either weekly or bi-weekly, depending upon the footage that they gather with the drone and how long it takes to publish. But be on the lookout for those cool videos, because again, we want to keep your student connected to our campus and what it looks like, because many of our 6th graders have not had a chance to see our amazing school campus, and it is beautiful. And we want to make sure that when they do transition back to school, that they will be familiar with everything around our campus. We have some proud moments at the end of last school year. We had Katie Abrahams, who was Pioneer's Teacher of the Year. Woo, Mrs. Abrahams. We did a drive-by. We were practicing social distancing, and she was very, very surprised. And TPSF, who are proud sponsors of the Teacher of the Year program, they all gave teachers beautiful signs, front lawn signs, and were able to be present at the recognition at their home, and we gave them a nice certificate and balloon. So Mrs. Abrahams was very, very nicely surprised. Then over the summer, we have Max there. He was the grand prize winner for the Water Awareness Poster Contest. He won a significant amount of money and also a mini iPad. So this is the 2nd year that Pioneer students have won the grand prize, and it's out of Miss Smith's class, Mrs. Smith's class. And she teaches science, 6th grade science, and also 6th grade electives. And then, of course, we had our famous Pioneer yearbook. Again, it was nationally recognized. And then we were able to get our volunteers, our yearbook crew. They came in over the summer, and it was hot and windy that day. And they passed out over 600 yearbooks to our students. So there's a lot of activity, practicing social distancing and making sure that the students have an opportunity to see the campus. And for 6th graders, this last Thursday and Friday, we did have them pick up their iPads. So they did get to come on campus. They got a binder reminder, and they also had some photo opportunities for their parents. And again, practicing social distancing. So one of the things I want to go over this evening with all of our parents is the difference of what learning look like when we were in crisis, which was obviously in March through May of this year, and then what virtual learning is going to look like for the 2021 school year until we return to the campus. So in March and through May, we were in a crisis response. We were doing the best that we could in this situation where actually Tustin Unified School District, we never stopped learning. We came back from spring break. Our teachers pretty much worked all over spring break, and we started distance learning on day one of returning from spring break, where many districts were completely down for several months because they did not have the technology, they didn't have the access. So it was really a gift that we had so many talented teachers and administrators working together and making sure that your child's learning did not stop and that connection with your child's teacher did not stop. So you can read yourself, in the crisis response, what our goals were as far as what the program looked like. And I'll just pause a minute so you can read that. If you can give me a thumbs up when you've read crisis response, that would be great. Good, such good students. Thank you. Engaging, you're listening to me. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. All right, so now the shift is we're no longer in crisis. We've had all summer to work on how are we going to deliver a curriculum that is meaningful and that is engaging and that is going to keep students moving forward in their academic knowledge. So we are going to be having teacher-led live synchronous online instruction. What that means is that when we were in the crisis mode, most of our instruction was video or recorded. Now teachers Monday through Friday, or Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, will be working with your child periods 1 through 7, and they will be teaching live classes. They will check in with them every day. We will have attendance, and I'll go over all those procedures, but it's going to be online live instruction. And your student will be with, the teacher will be with your child for every single period throughout their scheduled day. And then it's going to be, there'll be intentionally planned and purposeful lessons. And we have adopted, your Board of Education is amazing. Our superintendent is amazing. We went out, they did bids for Florida Virtual, which is the online curriculum that we're going to be using. And then we also looked at different platforms for learning management systems. And the one that was the most student friendly, especially for our students, was Schoology. So 6th through 12th grades will be using Schoology as a learning management system. And also they will be using Florida Virtual as the curriculum. So many of us are used to Readers Writers Workshop model, CPM for math, integrated science. That is going to be very limited just because we cannot pass out papers. We cannot give books. So there's a lot of restrictions on what we can and cannot give students. So our main goal was to make sure that the online curriculum that we used had everything that a student and a teacher would need to be able to learn, and it was in alignment with the California state standards. So mostly synchronous learning, that's online instruction. There will be some days that a teacher may want to show video because that's always been part of our practice. If they use an educational video or they're sharing out with students, some videos that they had recorded regarding teaching a lesson, but the teacher will always be present live. There will never be a period throughout your child's day that a teacher will not be live. We even have substitutes lined up, you guys. The district is so amazing. We trained over 100 substitutes on Florida Virtual and Schoology. And when they do substitute teach, they will come in onto our campus and they will work out of a classroom that has all of the tools that they need to be successful. So again, the district has taken every measure possible to make sure that there are no limits or there's no impediment in your child's learning and progressing throughout the courses and the grades. So I already went over Schoology and Florida. I always want to call it Schoology. I don't know why. I keep having to be corrected. Tracy, it's Schoology. All right. And then Florida Virtual, they're all the district-wide learning management systems. And on Wednesday, we are going to push out to you parent tutorials. We have trainer of trainers, teachers who volunteered to be trainer of trainers this summer. And they created tutorials for both parents, students, and teachers on how to access and use these tools from your lens, from a parent's lens, what it looks like, from a student's lens, and from a teacher's lens. So they've been working very hard. So on Wednesday, before your student logs in on Thursday, you will be able to have access to all the tutorials and be able to go through it even with your child at that time. And then in Florida Virtual, it's a complete scope and sequence. Today I met with the teachers and they met with like.
Go. You guys don't need to worry about this now.
Uh-oh, someone's got their mic on and we're hearing your family conversation. Thank you. But all of the California standards have been linked to Florida Virtual. And the beauty of Florida Virtual is that the teachers today have already gone on and they've completed their pacing guide, which means how many modules, it's called modules instead of units, how many modules will my course, say 6th grade science, how many modules will I be able to teach over so many days of instruction. So they've already mapped out what your child's educational year is going to look like by course. And we've worked on that today. It was a long day, let me tell you. And then, of course, we have scheduled planned school day. We'll go over the daily schedule during this presentation. We are going to go back to traditional grading. Again, all the teachers will set up their grade books. And at back to school night, which is August 26th, mark your calendars. Well, it's been on the SMORE, our weekly Wildcat, but mark your calendars for August 26th, and you're going to have a live virtual back to school night where you're actually going to go in just like your student would, go to the teachers, whether they use Zoom or Google Meet, you'll go into their meeting and you will be present, and the teacher is going to do their back to school night live with you, which is super exciting. We're very thrilled that we can do that. And we have the technology. Every single teacher at all the middle schools, and I don't know, Mike, if it's 612, they're all going to get tripods and an iPad that will capture everything that they stream live in their classroom.
That was my understanding, yes.
Okay, thank you. And again, your district, your board has really supported the teachers and also making sure that your teachers have the tools and the resources they need to make their teaching exceptional, and obviously the learning for your students a top priority. Another thing we're going to talk about later will be attendance. Attendance will be taken daily. Tardies will be marked. It'll be in those areas we are maintaining a very traditional structure for your child. So the period by period, the daily schedule, the attendance, and then we're also going to be doing continuing our assessments. So by course, every teacher, once school gets up and running, they will be scheduling a planned common assessments across the district to ensure that your child's learning continues to grow and that you have the information about where your child falls in relation to understanding the concepts of earth science or integrated science 6 or in math 6 or math 6A. So in every department, there will be common assessments given and parents and students will be given the results so that they can monitor their own progress. Some very exciting things about our elective programs, and I'm sure the students who are in band or play guitar are going to be very thrilled. Mr. Felix has done an inventory, and it looks like that we're going to be able to check out instruments to all of our students. So if your student is in band or orchestra or plays guitar, they will be checked out an instrument. And of course, I don't want you to worry. There's very specific cleaning steps that we have to take before we can check out your child an instrument. So those will be taking place over the next 2 weeks. So probably by the 3rd week of the school year, or maybe the beginning of September, that's probably around that time, we'll be reaching out to you as parents and asking you to do a drive-by and pick up your child's instrument. And I'm sure they'll feel like, wow, okay, finally I feel like I'm connected with the band teacher and also Mrs. Keene, who teaches guitar. So we're very excited about that, and more information will be coming on that. And if your child has an instrument, that's even better, because they will continue practicing and doing what they typically do with Mr. Felix. And if they have their own guitar, I'm sure Mrs. Keene will reach out to you and let you know. There are going to be some changes in our signature practices just due to being online and obviously a national pandemic. So we have typically had a 0 period PE. And if I'm sure that somebody has their mic on. Hello? Oh, there we go. So 0 period PE, because of everything going virtual pretty much across the state of California, or a blended program and with social distancing, PE in grades kindergarten through 8, they waived that criteria. So if your child was typically in a 0 period PE, during the virtual learning part that we're in right now, they will not have a 0 period PE. And the reason why we opted not to do that, they won't have any PE until we get back into school, because we would have to change their whole schedule twice because we'd have to take away an elective class that they have additionally signed up, because those students have 3 electives, meaning they have a support class, or they have a foreign language class, an AVID class, special education class, plus 2 fun electives. So they have an academic elective and then 2 other fun electives. So if we made those 0 period students go back in to PE another period, when we came back to school, they would have to change their whole schedule again. And since the state waived that we do not, PE requirements are not mandated, then we opted not to offer 0 period PE. But again, it's only temporary. Robotics and Science Olympiad, we're not going to be competing. There's not going to be any competitions at this point. We do have the classes that the students will be enrolled in, but unfortunately, due to obviously social distancing, traveling, large group gatherings, they're not allowed. So those wonderful pictures that you see will not be taking place this year. So we'll see, and that's going to be very unfortunate for those teams. And then we did have a computer programming class that we did have to change to automation and robotics. So if your child was in computer programming with Mr. Ireland, he is now moved over to Legacy. We've lost quite a few handful of teachers that went over there, but you know what, it's an amazing new program. But he left, but we do have a science opening right now, and we're looking to hire another teacher who has CTE certification. So hopefully we'll be able to hire some with the same qualifications. And then Mr. Cherangino, who is our Science 7 teacher, he is interested in working with the robotics teams when we resume in full attendance. So we're super excited about that. Very excited. All right, I'm going to now turn it over to Mr. Velez, who's going to talk to you guys about some of our expectations as a virtual learner from a student's perspective.
Okay, so I'm going to take a little bit of a time out from answering lots of questions.
Oh.
So if Tracy, if you want to take over the chat questions, there's a lot of good ones in there.
Okay, let me get in there.
Some of them that I'm not quite sure how to answer as well. So Taking a look at the slide that we have up there, what does a TUST virtual learner look like? At least at this time, our kids got a little bit of experience with that in the spring, having to do a lot of online learning. And so something that's very, very important is for all of your students to be goal-oriented and teaching them how to be accountable and making sure that they're available for their classes. It's nice to see the first few communications that I've sent out through Aries, the weekly Wildcat, and so on. A lot of people are checking their emails, and that's great. That's the best way we can communicate these days. So teachers will be using email quite a bit to communicate with your students in regards to assignments, probably with help, different things like that. So making sure that they're always checking their email, any notifications that they get from either Aries Communicator or through Schoology. There I go. I'm calling it Schoology when it's Schoology. It's hard to get away from that. And course updates. Those of you that have had secondary students in middle school and high school know that scheduling isn't always perfect on the first day of school, and there are little tweaks and little things that could happen for the first week or two. So always checking email and Aries for and Schoology for any course updates or changes that might happen. Naturally, staying organized has to be one of the big priorities. It's a little bit more difficult being at home, trying to follow 7 classes and keeping everything organized. We did give 6th graders a binder reminder last week when they picked up their iPads. I highly encourage kids to use that. Schoology in itself has calendars. Teachers will be posting assignments with dates and different things like that. So that makes it a little bit easier to stay organized. We will be setting up some dates for current 7th and 8th graders to come by Pioneer to get a binder reminder, as well as a date to do ID pictures, school pictures, and those kind of things. So it is important that kids are getting to classes on time. Now the passing period between classes is longer, it's 10 minutes. So hopefully that's enough time for teachers to wind down one period, allow kids to log out of one video meeting and log into their next period, because we are required to take attendance for every period that kids are going to be in. So making sure they understand their schedule, who their teachers are and their periods, and getting logged in. Keeping a copy of the bell schedule handy is something we recommend, and there's a copy of that at the end of this presentation. It's also on the weekly Wildcat. Staying open-minded, it's a different way of learning. It's a different way of teaching. It's a different way as parents for you to see how your kids are learning, type of environment that they're in. So it's important that when kids are in their virtual classrooms to be respectful and thoughtful of comments kids might make or the questions they have. Might be a little bit more difficult for some kids to be able to communicate looking at a single person through a computer rather than being in a classroom. So it's a different feel. And for kids to not to be afraid to ask those kind of questions if they don't understand. Like it says, it's okay to step outside your comfort zone. If it's something they feel it's important that needs to be said, then they should be able to feel comfortable enough to do that. And it goes along with being an active participant, being up, being on time, being dressed appropriately, asking clarifying questions or asking for guidance on how to get something done, and being actively engaged. There will be times where a teacher may break up a group or several groups into different breakout sessions into small groups. So hopefully the kids will feel comfortable in being able to leave a classroom or a virtual classroom of 35 kids and breaking down into groups of maybe 5 or 6 and then being able to work back into the larger group. So that is something that's a little bit different. They do that in their classrooms, but doing it virtually is just a different way of doing it. Being aware of stressors that you may feel about virtual learning. One of the questions in the chat was about being mindful of students under stress or students feeling anxiety, or how are we as a staff looking at the workload and being able to balance. Does one teacher know how much work another teacher is giving so that we're not overburdening the students? And that is a priority. I have to say that with every meeting, staff training, and things that we do here, that's always the number one thing we talk about, is being mindful of the current state that we are in with the pandemic, and that we can't always assume that the way our life is going is the way the life of all of our kids are going. So please being mindful of all that. Let's see. And staying connected, building relationships with other students, contacting your teacher if any questions. Email, 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 email. That's all I can tell you. Teachers are great about responding to emails. You get to express yourself that way. If students do feel a little bit uncomfortable speaking out during a virtual class, email the teacher, use the chat. There's a lot of different ways that kids can communicate, and it's important that they do that. There was a question in the chat about Google Classroom, that there's lots of resources there. Kids communicate with each other through that. My response was that Schoology is taking the place of Google Classroom. There were a lot of questions last spring about different formats, different things that different teachers at different sites, even within one site, were using. And so at least Schoology gives a common platform that if you have students in middle school, if you have students in high school, you'll get to see the same platform used in every classroom with every teacher, making things a little bit easier. Last year, people used Google Classroom. Some people used Haiku or PowerSchool. There were different things happening. So this makes it a little bit simpler for everyone to see the same format that everyone's going to be using. So that makes communication a little bit easier, because there's only going to be one way to do that, or a couple of same ways. Okay. All right. Next one. So attendance, I mentioned earlier, and I know Tracy mentioned earlier, that we do have to take attendance every single period. It's important. Obviously, it's school. It's important for kids to be there on time, to be appropriately dressed, ready to go, be alert. And classes are short. Classes are only 35 minutes, so they're going to go a little bit faster than usual, and every minute's going to be important. We will be recording tardies. There is going to be an adjustment period, so the first 2 weeks we're not going to be marking tardies. We understand kids will have to have some practice time and getting to their different classes on time and settling, and we understand that. So starting in week 3, we do have to start recording tardies. So like I said earlier, have wherever the place is that your student's going to be participating at home, have a schedule there so they can see what the times are, what the break periods are. And that also includes Wednesdays. Wednesday's schedule is a little bit different than the other days of the week. And so if you have a copy of that, that'll help keep them going. Making sure your student is presentable. It is school. It is a classroom. Other kids will be able to see your student. And so we ask that just school dress code, no different than if they were at school. Please dress that way at home when you're engaged in a classroom. And active engagement is key. Students need to participate. Hopefully there are too many distractions at home that will pull kids' attention away from what's going on in their learning. So being active and focused in each class is very, very important. And if you're there as a parent home with them, you may need to give them some encouragement in the beginning to keep things going. Okay.
All right, thank you. And you know, when I'm presenting, I apologize, Mike. I can't see the chat room. So when we're done, I'll just have you read the questions, or we'll look at the questions and then we'll answer them together. Okay. I apologize for that. Okay, so here is the daily schedule for our wingmen and wingwomen. Keeping with our theme with Top School. So Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, they do not have their first class until 8:30. Lucky them. Gives them a little opportunity. We had student focus groups at the end of last year. We really did collect a lot of data to drive some of the decisions that we made regarding both students and parents' feedback. And a lot of the kids were not getting up until 9 o'clock. Well, we couldn't push it that far back, but we were sensitive to that. They weren't really enjoying starting right away at 7:30. So 8:30 is the start time. As Mr. Velez said, each period is about 35 minutes long, and then there's a 10-minute passing period between every period. And then we have like a break lunch on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, which is about 10:30 to 11:05. And students will be able to break, get some food. They will have an additional 10 minutes after 11:05 to transition to their fourth period class. And then they will go throughout the day. Their dismissal or end of the day is 2:05. And then the high school, you can see we try to make sure that the schedule was just the same, because that was also feedback that we received from you as parents. Then on Wednesdays, we are going to continue. Clearly, your teachers are going to need ongoing professional development, especially as they start navigating through the new platforms. Questions will come up, concerns, challenges. So we want to make sure that on Wednesdays, we still maintain our Late Start Wednesday staff development program. So from 7:30 to 9, that your teachers will be collaborating together and solving the world's problems in relation to virtual learning. And then every single Wednesday, your child must check in to their tutorial, and then it's college career readiness class, or we call it tutorial, every Wednesday at 9 a.m. And your child has an assigned class that they would go to, and it's really their third period class. So their third period class will meet again. It's like a homeroom. We're going to be doing a lot of social, emotional learning activities, checking in with students, making sure that they're, they're mentally and physically healthy. That's something that has obviously been feedback from a lot of parents across the nation in relation to kids having so much screen time and little active engagement with their friends outside. So we have an abundance, a whole year. We're planning a lot of great activities that will engage students in fun ways on Wednesdays from 9 to 10. And so that will be a required class. They must be on time, they must be present, and they must engage. And then from 10 to 12 on Wednesdays, that is going to be individuals, teachers, student meetings. And that is going to be with any teacher. It's going to be somewhat like our tutorial, where kids are stamped to go get help, or they need some additional support, and that the teacher wants to see them. There'll be office hours scheduled that way with your child. And then 12 to 1 is lunch, and then your student is done at that time. And I can't see the bottom screen. Hold on, it's got to move. I can't see it. I think it was planned. Then the teachers from 1 to 3 will be planning for the next day's lessons or future lessons. So that's our Wednesday schedule. I'm going to leave that up for a minute, let you digest some of that. It was a lot of information, especially in relation to your child's daily schedule. All right, so that concludes all of our presentation and kind of front loading you as parents and giving you kind of an overview of what's been going on over here at Pioneer Middle School. We are open every day, 7:30 to 4:30. The whole office staff is here. Myself and Mr. Velez and the counselors are all here, and the school nurse. So if at any time you need any support, please, reach out to us, give us a call. Like I said, the counselors are here. We're here to support you and your students, and we want to make sure that you have a very successful virtual learning year. So I'm going to stop sharing now so I can see some of the questions that you have, and then Amy will transition over to you guys, okay? All right. Mike, do you kind of want to read out some of them?
Sure. I saved the chat, and so I'll publish a Q&A of all the questions and answers to our website in a day or two once I get all that done. The next question is, what's the process for scheduling individual teacher appointments on Wednesdays? So the teachers will be letting the kids know. On Wednesdays, the 10 to 12 time is for students to meet with teachers. That might be a one-on-one. It might be in small groups, so the teachers will be arranging those. I'm assuming if you feel that your student needs some more individual help, feel free to contact the teacher and let them know, and they can schedule a time. Do our students need to download Clever? So a couple things. If your student is a 7th or an 8th grader, they have the same iPad that they had last year. They still have it at home. Those iPads were wiped clean by the district, and then students have to turn them on. They have to log back in with their regular username and password. And then in a lot of cases, the apps will automatically start to download. It takes a few minutes for that cycle to start. Then they'll start downloading. Clever is one. Student Portal is one. Another one, the TUSD apps is no longer there. It now says self-service. So that's another one. If those apps don't start downloading after 10 or 15 minutes, go into the settings. Apple pushed out a new iOS about a day or two before we issued iPads. So check to see it's 13 point something. If that hasn't been updated, download that. Let it cycle through. That can take a while, up to 20 minutes, depending on your Wi-Fi. And then restart your iPad and then see if the apps will automatically download. In most cases, that has worked. If it doesn't work, please get a hold of me and we'll figure something out to get your, or one other suggestion is if it doesn't work from your home Wi-Fi, drive over to the Pioneer parking lot and log into the Tustin Wi-Fi and try it that way. If neither one of those things works, just get a hold of myself or Tracy, and we'll help set you up with an IT person to get the iPad taken care of. What are kids doing on Wednesdays? So on Wednesdays from 8 to 9, 9 to 10 is a tutorial advisory period. They'll meet with our advisory periods are set up with their 3rd period teacher. So they'll meet with them. They may review certain assignments. They may be doing social emotional lessons. They may be doing a lot of different things in that class. Our class is recorded for when students are absent. Good question, Tracy.
Yeah, we have not talked about that. That is a great question. But we're meeting with teachers tomorrow, so we'll definitely post that question and answer when we pull together that document for you. I'll put that down now.
Is the 1 to 3 time on Wednesdays for teachers? Excuse me. Yes, that's for staff type things. Do students stay online at a class from 10 to 12 on Wednesdays, or only if they need help? It's essentially only if they need help, or if the teacher has requested that they stay on for additional help. It's not a mandatory time. Is Schoology will be uploaded in their iPad? I don't believe Schoology is an app. It's a website. So they will just put it in through their URL and log in that way. Is it an error that lunchtime is at 10:30 instead of 11:15? No, I'm sorry to say it's not an error. I know there was an earlier question as to why is it so early. I don't know the pure answer to that one, but depending on where you put it, you either end up having a longer morning or a longer afternoon, wherever you put that hour. So.
And in the discussion with the teachers, they felt like a lot of our middle school kids are always hungry. And they felt it's interesting, most of our kids eat their lunch at break. So that's why they left it there. And it's not a mistake that I saw that the lunch ends at 11:05, but then they have a 10-minute transition to period 4, which then starts at 11:15. It's that passing period that we allowed them.
On Wednesdays, will there be some days where my child will only have tutorial and not have any other appointments? Yes, that definitely can happen for a lot of kids. Let's see, will there be notifications on weekly, bi-weekly basis from teachers where kids are not paying attention or seems uninterested while online? That's a great question. That's been a big focus of all of our staff trainings as well. Not only for the teachers, for myself, counselors, Ms. Vanderhayden, for all of us, it'll be something that we're working together as a team to look for the early warning signs of someone who's not paying attention, someone who may be drifting, somebody who's maybe in the beginning assignments are coming in, but then we notice that they're not, and we will work together as a team to provide whatever resources and help that we can to make sure that kids are doing well and they're getting through this.
And the Wednesday activities will provide us a lot of insight because they've all been designed around the our counseling standards. So they're all about looking inside the student and then also how they're relating with others in relationships. So the activities will really lend themselves for a teacher identifying if there may be a concern that maybe the student's not expressing. So we've done a lot of work around that, and we feel that Wednesdays with those activities that we really needed it for those types of students.
Can they use personal devices for Schoology, or does it have to be the iPad? I'm assuming they can use a personal device. I know that the high schools are using PC-based for Schoology, so it works on both platforms. So I don't really see that being an issue. I know in the past there were some very iPad-specific apps and programs that teachers used where PCs, laptops didn't work, but I haven't heard that that's going to be an issue with Schoology. If anything comes up, we certainly will let everybody know. Will kids be able to use Zoom chat with teachers during tutorial as opposed to email? If the teacher's doing an individual session, sure. If they're doing a group session, sure. Help doesn't have to be through email. It can be through Zoom or Google Meets during that Wednesday time, during the 10 to 12 time.
Right. What we did find out from student feedback, though, and the teachers were not getting students to participate, they felt very uncomfortable meeting with a teacher on their own. So there will not be individual meetings with teachers. There will be more likely small group, because we did find that the students overwhelmingly felt very uncomfortable. So we don't want anyone to feel uncomfortable. So we definitely encourage small group in that time.
Let's see, send out a cheat sheet. Okay, that's a good idea. On troubleshooting, downloading different things. Okay, it's a good idea. See, how will students be able to confirm their attendance with each teacher? Teachers are taking attendance through Aries. So just like in years past, students and parents can log into Aries and check their students' attendance to make sure they're being counted correctly. And if there's any errors, just get a hold of us. Get a hold of the teacher or get a hold of us, and we'll make corrections. See, for back to school night, will there be the same restriction for only 100 attendees on Zoom? Tracy, you want to talk about the format on back to school night?
Yeah, so we won't reach over 100 for each class. So, because the classes are going to be about 35 students. So, that's one of the largest, unless you're in choir or band, I think they go up to 44, but we won't exceed 100. But again, all of the sessions will be recorded by the teachers.
Okay. Question about how is online bullying going to be monitored? So during the first 2 weeks of school, the students will be getting their PBIS lessons, and online bullying is one of those lessons. Ms. Vanderhayden and myself will also be going into every teacher's classroom over the next couple of weeks and going over all the school rules, proper behavior, online etiquette, and obviously online bullying will be one of the topics. So that's something that we are still going to enforce. All school rules, for the most part, as best that can be done between school and home, are going to be enforced. We're trying to make this as school-like as possible. See, student login information is the same for all apps in Student Portal. As far as I know, yes, student login information has not changed. It's still partly their name and their 9-digit ID. See, how will students be able to confirm their teachers are receiving their work? This is the same thing as the attendance. They're using Aries, so that you can go in and check grades at any time. And if there's mistakes, just contact the teacher.
And then with Schoology, the teacher pushes out an assignment through Schoology, the assignment is submitted in Schoology. So that again is another opportunity for consistency across all courses with all teachers, because there were different formats being used. And that's what they'll be working on that again tomorrow, about pushing out assignments, how to make sure that the students, and they'll all be trained, all the students, that first day of school, they'll be trained, and we're gonna let you know. And then you guys will get all the information on Wednesday about all of these questions too, how assignments are gonna be submitted, what does it look like on gradebook, how can I access my child's classes and courses? So you'll have a video tutorial on all of those topics.
Okay, yeah, because that's been asked several times in the chat. How do parents get a login? How will students get their information? Things like that.
Yeah.
Has there been any dialogue about setting up outdoor classrooms at the district or state level? Not to my own personal knowledge, no. Let's see.
Oh, where to find a Schoology username and password? When your teacher has an account for every period. So they actually worked on that today. And so what they're going to be doing is, when you go into a gradebook, when you're looking at your students, you go into parent portal and you look at your students' grades, next to the teacher's name and the course name, there's going to be 2 links. There'll be one link to their year-long Zoom or Google Meet meeting for that period. And then there will be a Schoology link for your child. And then they'll be given all their password information on the first day of school by their teachers.
Question says that Zoom is not working on district-issued devices. I was not aware of that.
Thank you for letting us know.
Okay, so we'll get a hold of our district IT about that. Our teachers have district issued iPads and Zoom works on those. Now, yes, the permissions are different. So I know Zoom works on it, so it may just be a permission type issue. We'll look into that.
Maybe they're not going to release it until school starts, but we'll confirm. But
Yeah.
we've all been planning on using Zoom or Google Meet.
Will students have homework? How will tests and grading be conducted?
All right, so again, the focus, especially during virtual learning, is to have limited amount of homework. The most important thing, and we've talked about this today with the teachers, except for if you are in honors or you're in advanced math classes. Clearly, because you're going through the curriculum at a much more rigorous and faster pace, so there may be more opportunities for homework than the regular grade level classes. But the discussion is that the teachers will introduce a topic during a lesson. They will give an assignment to be done in class. And this is where that whole engagement and staying focused and completing the task that's required. Teachers are not going to be assigning a task that takes more than 15-20 minutes because they only have a 35-minute window. So if your child isn't using that time efficiently, then it will become their homework. But again, outside grade level courses, there will not be any, quote, assigned homework. It will only be what they haven't finished in class.
Okay. Can students reset their Aries password? That has to be done here by the librarian along with IT in order to change a password. So you would have to bring the iPad here for that to happen. where there'll be teacher-to-teacher coordination on tests. That's something that we'll talk to the teachers about. I know within departments and grade levels, they talk about scheduling those kind of things, but across departments, that's certainly something that we can talk about. We could probably create some sort of Google Doc where teachers can let each other know when they're giving a test. I've done that at other schools. I'm new here to Pioneer this year, so I don't know if they've done something like that in the past, but that's something that we can do. That would definitely help alleviate a lot of stress for kids if they have to take multiple tests in the same day.
Yeah, we definitely do not have that in practice. So I love Mr. Velez's idea about doing a Google Doc or a calendar and making sure that we don't have multiple tests on one day. Thank you very much for that question.
So how will classes like PE, art, and music be done virtually? So there are courses within Florida Virtual that line up with some of these classes. But we are going to be able to give out instruments so kids can practice from home. So, Tracy?
Yes.
A little bit more on
Florida Virtual has a online curriculum that will go with art, and also it will go with the choir. And it's basically about music. And of course, Mrs. Keene and Mr. Felix and Mrs. Spiak, they've all been working tirelessly on and doing lessons that are going to be really helpful for your child. So they won't necessarily need materials to complete, but they may have to do a video recording of themselves singing. For art materials, we are going to be looking at a possible pickup. Like there's going to be some required materials that we will need of students, but if you can't afford them or you need support, we haven't figured out how we're going to do that yet, but we will definitely be sending out something, and then we're going to have like a drive-by table. If you need art supplies, please come by and pick them up on this day during this time, and we'd have scheduled appointments. So they will be doing a lot of modeling for your child, and then also recording the lessons for those of the students who need additional reminders about how to, draw in a certain way, or how to, sing a certain note in a certain way. So, and PE, that's going to be mostly about, what was the PE curriculum, Mr. Velez? That was more, they're going to have workout Wednesdays. It's just basically, there'll be themes throughout the week that the teachers are going to collaborate with your students on, and making sure they keep a PE log. More of the traditional ways, but obviously it's going to be individual with your child and how they're going to keep track of being healthy and fit.
At this time, there will not be any orchestra, band, or choir performances. Just due to the current situation, that would not be something that we could do, not at this time. Question about textbooks. Students don't need textbooks. Everything that they need is going to be available online. School iPad does not have the self-service app. So that's something I mentioned before. You need to check to make sure that the iOS software, the operating system's been updated. If not, then you'll need to bring the iPad to us so we can see why the apps are not downloading.
I see that they expressed a question about, will tests be given to students online? Yes, there will be common assessments, and there will be tests that are given. And the technology is so good within these platforms is that they can roll out the same concept learning for tests in different orders and different questions, randomly selection, like they'll be randomly pushed out to your student, and there'll be different forms of the test. So no one will know what form that they have and different questions, but they'll still measure whether or not your student is learning about a specific content area. So the technology is there, and so they'll be doing that. And then, is there a separate parent login to keep track? No, there's only one login, and that will be through your student. So your student We'll have to give you the login, and then you'll be able to have access to your child, only because only you and your child will know how to have your child. It's completely private, their account.
Content Keeper for browser doesn't take the username and password. I don't think we're using Content Keeper anymore. The district's changed to a different filtering system. So don't try to enter into Content Keeper. Can our children be exempt from PE if they're already involved in multiple other activities or sports? Everyone's in PE unless they've been approved for independent study PE, and there is a packet involved for that. So if you're interested in something like that, just email me and we'll get you the packet. That's all the questions.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us, parents. We really, really appreciate you taking the time and being with us this afternoon. And I'm sure we'll see more of you like this. All right, and now I'm going to turn it over to our wonderful PTO president, Mrs. Johnston. Take it away.
Thank you. Thank you both so much. I don't know if other schools are doing this. I hope they are. This has been invaluable, answering our questions in real time. Thank you very much. So I'm Amy Johnston. It's my second year as PTO president, my 6th year as a Pioneer parent. I adore this school. I wish I were planning Fall Festival right now, but I'm not. So the board and I have been working hard, really looking at budget and our membership drive. And I know it's probably not at the top of your minds. We all have so many anxieties and stressors in our lives right now, and we're just worried about our kids. But it is my job that I have to convey the information. So give me a moment. Our annual membership drive, if you're a parent of a 7th or 8th grader, we've been doing this, forever. It's our main fundraiser. We normally ask for $175 per student. That works towards covering our $120,000 approximately budget every year. So obviously this year it's not $120,000. We aren't feeding our teachers or feeding our children or doing assemblies, which we would love to, but obviously we're not. So we are looking at a very lean budget of hopefully around $50,000. So in that vein, the membership VPs, Christy Ernst and Win No and we've been working hard to figure out how to handle this, because this is obviously crazy unusual, and we know times are tough. So instead of $175 a student, we would like to ask for $90 a student. That is just about half of what we normally ask for, and we think we can do it. We have expenses, like a copier lease or the web leader, online curriculum, things like that we have to pay for. So we need to cover those things. And there's a little optimism in our budget. I know I probably shouldn't talk about it, but if there's any way that we are ever back in school this year on campus, we would love to pay for our academic Olympics and career day and buy PE equipment and repair guitars and do 8th grade promotion activities, all those things. So there's a conservative amount in there to, again, hopefully, cover these things, but we just don't know. We don't know, we can't commit to anything, but we feel that asking for this more modest amount, $90, we hope you can contribute and give what you can. We know it's a tough time. We also hope to have volunteers someday back on campus. That would be wonderful. We'd love to see you. Miss seeing you all at registration. But again, the only thing certain is uncertainty. I believe that Tracy and Mike will be sending out our official PTO membership drive request. It'll all be online this year, which is very new to us, so we hope we don't get lost among your emails. Please take a look. Please feel free to visit our website, pioneerwildcatspto.org, and hopefully we'll have some opportunities for you to help with some stuff. I know we have a couple committee positions. Thanks for your time. And if you have any questions, my email's on that website. Feel free to ask me. And thank you for your support of PTO. Thank you, everyone.
Yay, thank you, Amy. Thank you, amazing board. These are really unprecedented times. And again, parents, if you can contribute anything, we would greatly appreciate it, because we do still have students and families in need. And anything that we can do to support our elective programs and our academic programs are greatly appreciated. And, you know, I just feel so honored again to serve this community another year, even when it's crazy like this. Who would have ever thought in my career that I would be doing this? And again, I want to thank you. If you have any questions, if you have concerns, we are always here for you. So please call the office, call the school. We don't want anyone worrying about anything. I do see some questions in the chat box about, you know, when we come back, about air purifiers. Are you going to clean the classrooms? I can assure you that if and when we do come back, there are going to be very, very specific safety precautions that we will be taking to ensure that your child is safe at all times, safe and healthy. That's what we want for all of our students and families right now. So with that, we're going to go ahead and let you get back to your families. And like Mike said, we're going to be making a copy of the chat room, and we're going to be posting the Q&As, the FAQs. We'll say it's FAQs of our first meeting, and hopefully that you can share those out with your friends. And then we'll be also recording. We're recording this video and we'll be posting it on our online site and then also on our website. And please, parents, as Mike said, read the weekly Wildcat. It has all kinds of information and upcoming events. And I think the next time we'll probably see each other is on August 26th. It's right around the corner for back to school night. So again, parents, Amy, the board, Mike, thank you all so, so much. And I look forward to seeing you virtually very soon.